Hey guys, BigDebuffs here. Today we are going to talk a little bit about the out-of-dateness of Resto Shaman and what I think is out of date and what possible solutions I would like to see in the future. These are my own opinions, not influenced by any other shaman. This is simply what I see, what I experience, and what I would like to happen for Restoration Shaman. So in terms of the out-of-dateness, we're specifically going to talk about our healer cooldowns. Why? Because healer cooldowns are the most important thing in PvP, whether it's RPGs, blitzes, 2v2, 3v3, solo shuffle. Healer cooldowns determine how the game goes. And if your cooldowns are not anywhere near the strength of other healers' cooldowns, that's just an immediate red flag, and they need to be fixed right away. And unfortunately, in the Resto Shaman's case, they've either gotten chopped down or they've gotten negative attention throughout the years. So, let's go ahead and get this started. So my first healer cooldown that I want to talk about, probably the most prominent one, would be Earthen Totem. Now, Earthen Totem has usually been the star of Resto Shaman because of how it was brought in. I believe it came in Legion, and it was really unique. You know, there weren't that many ground-based defensives in the game, nonetheless for a healer. So it had a pretty short cooldown and had this unique effect of, you know, chopping away damage from each attack. And it lasted for, you know, a pretty long time. In this case, we can see here, I mean, it's still minute cooldown, has about 60% of the health, 60% of my health, and lasts 18 seconds, and still shaves off some damage from each attack. So long as you are in the Earthen Totem. My problem is that something like Earthen Totem can so easily be scaled off because of its actual effect and just the actual skill of Earthen Totem. It was designed in a time where, you know, 1 minute cooldowns were becoming more popular because DPS had ways to not only get their main cooldowns back, this is when CDR started to become a lot more popular, but also they started to get, you know, ways to do damage in that 45-second window, all in between, you know, the 1 minute and the 2 minute windows. So if you didn't have a 1 minute cooldown as a healer, it felt really awkward, especially during like BFA and Shadowlands. So Earthen Totem was our rising star. But it was also prominent in the time because there weren't that many AoE effects in the game, in the sense of whether it was ground-based effects or just other AoE type skills, Death and Decay, Ring of Peace. There weren't that many ground placement effects for DPS, and there wasn't that many, you know, pets on the screen. You know, all that classic sludge and piss and splurge and cluster that we all see on our games whenever we play threes or whenever we play RPGs. Yeah, there wasn't nearly that much stuff back then. So it made these ground-based defensives a lot more easier, accessible, and a lot more useful to stand in. But nowadays, now that there's so much stuff on your screen, and on top of that, the actual effect of the wall just sucks, I find it hard for me to tell my team to stand in this small circle for 18 seconds every minute to only get this benefit of like 30,000 to 40,000 damage off of each attack. I can't even ask my team to do that. I can ask my team to do that when I place my power barrier as a Disc Priest because it's, you know, 20% damage reduction that lasts 10 seconds every 3 minutes. They can definitely take the time out of their day to do that comparatively to every minute for 18 seconds for a very weak skill. And so that damage, because Earthen Wall can scale off really bad, is because it's not a standard damage reduction. You know, damage reduction, 10%, 15%, 20%, whatever damage reduction cooldown healers have, it's always going to remain a constant, no matter how many patches go by, no matter how big the Frost Strike or the Chaos Bolt is, it's going to remain 30%. It's always going to be that constant number, compared to this, where it's not really something that scales with each attack. You know, it doesn't matter how hard the attack is, it's still going to be this weak 26,000 damage off of that attack, or 39,000 damage off of that attack. Really lame. But what I like to see with Earthen Totem? Well, one thing is simply just to buff the actual effect of it. I mean, for me, Double Earthen to me is how strong a singular Earthen Totem should be. That to me is how strong Earthen Totem should be. It should be the strength of a Double Earthen effect. So for me, significantly buff the effect of Earthen Totem. That's like the first step. Now, if you want to go a bit beyond that, for me, I said it before, literally a couple seconds ago. It was the fact that because Earthen Wall is so frequent and it lasts so long, I can't ask my team to constantly stay in this Earthen Wall totem. They have to move. Whether you're kiting or you're pushing onto someone, you're constantly moving in this game. And that's what also makes these ground-based, defensives just really awkward to stay in. What if we could maybe change Earthen Wall totem? Maybe bring it to like a 1.3, 1.5 minute cooldown, have a much stronger effect, but lasts like 10 to 12 seconds. That would kind of make it like a standard healer defensive cooldown that, lasts 12 seconds, 1.5, 1.3 minute cooldown, and it's a pretty good, strong, solid effect. Just so it does leave my team room to actually, be able to press their attacks or kite without having to constantly be in my Earthen Wall totem with its frequency of being 1 minute and lasting that long. Because let's be honest, are you actually ever getting the max value of Earthen Wall totem for that 18 seconds? No, you're definitely not. Your team's going to stand there for like 4 seconds until they're tired of standing still, and then they're going to go out and do their adventurous things. Another way you could look at this is simply increasing the range of Earthen Wall totem. I feel like ground-based offensives nowadays, like I said, with all the piss and sludge that's on your screen, not only is it hard to see, it's just easily counterable. I mean, Rops or DK popping his Death and Decay on top of my Earthen Wall totem, and just a bunch of other, whether it's traps or just anything that's on my screen. It's so hard to see, and it's so hard to play around in this small circle. I think that ground-based skills for healers, should be at minimum 15 yards. I feel like that's a comfortable number to work around with. Maybe you can go further beyond and even go with like actual, not even ground-based defensives, but also ground-based heals like Healing Rain or Efflorescence. But for now, I'd like to see your Earthen Wall totem have some more increased yards, because 11 yards is just not good enough. You can't really play around that. Another thing I'd like to see with Earthen Wall totem is some sort of expiration effect. Remember, it has a threshold. If the damage gets transferred to Earthen Wall totem and it eventually exceeds that threshold, Earthen Wall will go away. So if there was some sort of expiration to where, like, okay, the amount of damage stored will turn into an absorb shield for, allies sending an Earthen Wall totem or some sort of heal, I think that could be pretty cool to make use of its threshold typeness, especially because for some reason they nerfed Earthen Wall's health by 40%. It used to be 100% of our max health. Now they reduced it by like 40%, which was really awkward and not needed at all. So some sort of expiration effect on it, absorb shield, a heal, something to kind of bring some bit of flair and excitement to the skill. But more importantly, again, I'd like to see just mainly the actual effect of Earthen Wall be juiced up. That's ultimately what I'm aiming for, is the actual effect of it. The cooldown, the radius, that's all stuff that I would like to see, but most importantly, it is the actual effect of Earthen Wall totem. Well, we'll talk about Healing Tide. I actually really don't mind Healing Tide the way it is. Maybe you have your opinions on it. I'm kind of fine with how it is. Ascendance. Ascendance is something that I have been kind of disappointed about. I feel like whenever Blizzard starts going more into like the procs, which I don't know when they started to add in a lot of these proc-based skills of proccing your main cooldown. It's a cool thought, but you really look at it, because they're not actually nerfed, it's just like it devalues the actual on-use button. Because Ascendance feels really great as a proc ability, but now when I press Ascendance, it's just nothing different from if I got a proc, except the duration is much longer because of, if I'm running Permanence. So it feels kind of lame, if I'm being completely honest. I feel like Ascendance should have much stronger value on its on-use comparatively to the proc. The proc can remain as it is, but the actual on-use Ascendance should be buffed significantly. One of those is possibly combining both First Ascendant and Permanence. Elemental Shamans used to have a skill like this. That was literally the combination of these two skills. It reduced the cooldown of Ascendance and also gave you some bit of haste. In this case, we can look at like 45 seconds from First Ascendance instead of 60, and then like 10% or 15% from Permanence, and with no increased duration at all. I feel like that would be really nice, because these both are really great talents for a cooldown that is significantly weaker than any healer's not only 2-minute cooldowns, but they're 1.5-minute cooldowns. Like, you're telling me this 3-minute cooldown Ascendance is on par with like an Ancient of Lore? you're literally joking. You're literally crapping yourself if you think that. So combining these would be, I think, would be really cool. On top of that, the actual health or the actual healing redistribution of Ascendance, I think, could be bumped back up to 80%. You can keep the proc Ascendance to 70%, but the actual on-use Ascendance should be 80%. They nerfed it by 10% before the Earthen started, when they were doing all the Resto Shaman changes in the pre-patch and whatnot, which I have no idea why they thought Ascendance needed a 10% nerf, but they did. So I'd like to see the Ascendance health, the healing effectiveness, redistribution effect be bumped to 80%. And the actual immediate heal of Ascendance should be much, much stronger. They initially did this in, I don't know what, maybe early Dragonflight or somewhere in Shadowlands, but because Shamans got so screwed, all Shamans got so screwed with not having anything really instant when they pop their cooldowns compared to other classes, they decided to give them an instant effect. For Resto Shaman, it was the healing. For enhancement, it was the damage, the lightning bolt that comes down, and then the elemental was lava burst. Guess which one is actually useful out of the three? Yeah, it's the elemental. You're just flinging lava bursts everywhere. If Ascendance actually did, if that actual immediate heal did like really good healing, I feel like that'd be pretty cool. Like actually really good healing. Like, we're talking about like somewhere at least like in the 2 millions. I think that'd be really cool. Or how about this? Actually playing into the Elemental Shaman Ascendance, where you proc your Ascendance and, all the lava bursts fly out. Do that similarly to each of the specs. For enhancement, it'd be Lightning Bolt probably. And for Resto, it'd be Riptide. You just cast Ascendance and you apply Riptide to probably max 5 targets. I think that'd be pretty cool. But the way Ascendance is now, I just feel like it's such a weak on-use ability. It's a great proc. It's just such a weak on-use ability. It's the exact same thing with Chain Heal. I think Chain Heal is a great proc with Lively Totems, but I feel like it's a really weak skill to cast. And last but not least, it's Spiritling Totem. I honestly have really no way of how to fix Spiritling Totem, because Spiritling Totem is such a bad design of what usually is a pretty strong effect with this health redistribution, whether it's something like Life Swap, which technically health redistribution, Tempered in Battle. It's so bad. It's so bad. I mean, because you're dealing with multiple targets, it just really makes it awkward, because it's not actually, because you only use Spiritling Totem for the actual immediate effect. The actual redistribution part following after that immediate effect is kind of useless, because the healing you do isn't actually like super effective unless you have some cooldowns to really pair with it, and you can actually out-heal the damage that's coming in and push through everybody's health redistributing. Unless you have a cooldown to do that, then Spirit Link feels really bad, which you're probably not going to have a cooldown for it, because Spirit Link should be your last cooldown to press. So I feel like Spirit Link Totem would have a much better chance at first if it doesn't actually get killed. If there's any totem in the game that should not be killed or killable, it's my 3-minute cooldown Spirit Link Totem. It's kind of ridiculous. I mean, we've all heard the talk of like unkillable totems, be a talent or something, or just an actual permanent change. For me, I feel like that's kind of cheesy, because totems are the counter, or killing totems is the counter to to certain skills. To an extent, it should be the counter. But for Spirit Link Totem, my actual main cooldown, this should not be killable. This is ridiculous. It should not be killable. So that'd be my first step for Spirit Link Totem. Also, for me, it would be literally changing the effect. There's a skill in Marvel Rivals called Soulbond. It's from Adam Warlock. And Adam Warlock, when he casts this, he'll connect the souls of up to 5 targets, including himself, I believe. And basically, it does a bit of healing over time, but the damage a soulbonded target takes will be spread to all soulbonded targets. So if you hit 5 targets and you get hit with an ability that deals like 100 damage, it'll be split, so every one of you will take 20 damage instead. So imagine that was Spirit Link Totem. You can press Spirit Link Totem, it immediately links all the people that are in the totem, and the amount of damage someone takes will be evenly split amongst everybody. And you'll have some healing tied to it, but there's also another effect with Soulbond. It's that if Adam Warlock is to die, the Soul Bond would cancel, and he'll be brought to 1% health, or 1 health. Spirit Link could do the same thing. If someone were to die during Spirit Link, they'd be brought to like 20% health. Kind of like a Guardian Spirit type thing, but it would be much weaker. Other than that, I actually really have no, because it's like a similar thing to Spirit Link Totem. They both have Spirit in the name. That's kind of why I put the 2 and 2 together, or 1 and 1 together. Other than that, I actually really have no idea how to fix Spirit Link Totem. I don't think the solution would be to bring back Spirit Link, the actual honor talent, because that talent sucked. And like I said, it's just such a bad design of what historically is a good effect in PvP. So I feel like, honestly, Spirit Link Totem is something that should be done away with and be completely changed, removed, and added for something better, because this is probably the most out-of-date skill for Resto Shaman. It's Spirit Link Totem. It's never been a worthy 3-minute cooldown for Resto Shaman. So that's really my only effect. That's really my only thing I have for Spirit Link Totem. You could probably play around with like the damage deduction, maybe boost the literal crap out of that damage deduction, make it like, you know, upwards like 20, 30, 40%, kind of like a faint death survival tactics type thing with a mini playset. Everybody just takes like 99% reduced damage for like 2.5 seconds. Maybe you can play around with that, but I really just have no real proper idea for how to fix Spirit Link Totem. So I'm really open to your guys' thoughts on that. And ultimately, I'm open to all your guys' thoughts on our cooldowns. Do you think they're out of date? Do you think they're actually really good? Here's our cooldowns. I personally don't think so, because the amount that the way we have to pre-use our cooldowns significantly more than other healers. It's not even like that's kind of like our finesse. Like, no, we had to do that out of desperation. I mean, if I don't Spirit Link, you can't like really trinket Spirit Link anymore. You have to Spirit Link super early nowadays. The minute somebody hits like 40%, you have to Spirit Link. Your Ascendance, you can't like wait to press Ascendance because the actual immediate heal is just completely trash. Earthen Wall, if you don't get Earthen Wall down at like 100% health, you're not going to get the opportunity to get Earthen Wall down. That's the sad part. So I just think our cooldowns are really out of date, and I'd really like to see some bit of updatedness when it comes to the pacing of World of Warcraft PvP finally be applied to our cooldowns.